Zach, here we are. The end is the beginning of the
The
end.
end is
Here it
here,
is.
and the end
It's
is
sort of it's the beginning
yeah.
of the end, at least. It's the Deathly Hallows Part One
I definitely get that
review.
feeling. I definitely get that
Yeah.
feeling from the movie. It definitely feels like the beginning of the end.
Well, it's starkly different. This one, I
Yeah.
would say, in comparison. So, Deathly Hallows Part One, by the way, in other territories, was called Harry Potter and the Lots of Magical Objects.
Harry
That's what
Potter
it was
and
called.
the return of the petty, jealous bitch Ron
Yes,
with
yeah,
a
he does
vengeance.
come back. He does rear his ugly head. Um,
Yeah.
this is, I think, I don't remember specifically, but I think this is one of the only movies that I went to a midnight premiere of.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I can't think of any other movies that I went and saw at midnight besides this one. I might have seen. There might have been another movie. I know. Part two, I saw opening night, but I couldn't go to the midnight opening of it.
So, what year did this come out?
But this is 2010. It was
So
came out in November. I was a freshman in college, and I remember, it was pretty exciting because I got to go. I carpooled with a bunch of people, brought us to the movie
hmm.
theater, and yeah, it was really very exciting time to be a Harry Potter fan.
I'm trying to
Um,
remember. It was either this one or the next one that I saw the midnight release for, and I don't know if
mm,
I still have the. I might still have the 3D glasses from that event. They're Harry Potter shaped. I meant to check for that.
I think I still have the ones from part two when I went and saw part two. The 3D glasses, but
Yeah, but it was so packed. The theater was
yeah.
so packed. We were right in like the front row, breaking our necks. You know.
Oh yeah, our theater was packed too. And I was in. I remember this very distinctly. There was a guy that was dressed up as Voldemort, who was like taking pictures with everyone. It was a very good. It was a very good cosplay. I remember being very like, he had like the flowing robes and everything. The no nose. It was really
Sexy,
great.
sexy
Um,
as all get out.
yeah, absolutely. Just Rafe Fiennes. There he is. Um, Yeah, and I remember distinctly the guy in front of me was talking to his friends because we actually got there a little early. I seem to remember we got there probably like around 11 or 11:30. And the guy in front of me, I remember saying to his friends like he hadn't seen any of the Harry Potter movies before. It's like he got dragged along to
Yeah.
go or something, which is sort of reminiscent of when I went and saw Catching Fire. I had not seen the first Hunger Games. I knew like basically nothing about it, but I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come along and I'll watch it. And for the record, I love that movie. That's like one of my favorite movies. I maybe someday we'll review the Hunger Games movies. That could be fun too. I was actually thinking about that while I was watching this. Because it's kind of right in the midst. All these like Harry Potter's sort of ending, but Hunger Games is
Right, it's
starting to
like
come into its own.
young adult novels coming in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and these big YA
Next, we're
films,
gonna
but
review the Percy Jackson movies.
Percy Jackson.
Those are my books that
Yeah,
I actually read. Like these are the only books of young adult novels that I read.
yeah.
All the other ones I know from movies. So
Mm.
yeah.
But
Anyway,
Zach,
so Deathly Hallows.
what do you think about this movie?
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. It's not my favorite, but there's certain things that I really like about it. Some things I'm not so sure of. Um,
Okay.
I'm not. It's like every time I come in, I'm like I'm not 100% sure. This is one I didn't take many
Yeah.
notes on. Usually I try to take a lot of notes. Um, but I don't know for the Hermione shippers out there, it was giving me life for some of it.
um,
Yeah.
I love this movie. I think this is like probably my second favorite, behind Half Blood Prince. It's like it's a real toss up for me. I They did such a good job of having to juggle all of the stuff that they kind of left out of the previous books. Um, they don't really explain the mirror. I even don't think they even explain it even in the next
Yeah.
movie.
Right. Well, that's what I
But
that's what I felt. That's where I was like, I don't know if I should love this movie or not because I felt like I was just thrown into something that I don't even
yeah,
like. I was just whoa, okay, stuff's
there's
happening, and then like who's
there's
who's
there's a
this? What's that? Things are popping up.
there is a little bit of that. I that's kind I think that I to me is one of the detriments of the film is it does like
Yeah.
if you haven't read the books, I think I think you can still follow along pretty well. I think they do a good job of keeping the internal logic pretty consistent. But there's some stuff in there, man, like that the mirror for one. So the mirror is something that Sirius gave Harry um, back before he died.
Hmm.
And it was something that Harry actually had forgotten about. It was like a gift. I think it was like a Christmas gift or some. I don't remember exactly what it was, but Harry had like forgotten about it. And then after Sirius died, he was sort of like looking through everything that he had, and then he found it again. I think it was. I think at that point, I think it had broken. I don't really remember when it broke exactly, but he was excited because it's like maybe there's a way to talk. No, he got real sad because it's like a way to talk to Sirius, but it was like after Sirius had died, so there's no way to really do that anymore. So and yeah, and then sort of it starts in this book where he starts looking in the mirror and starts seeing somebody that looks a lot like Dumbledore all of a sudden. Like an eye will flash in the mirror, and it's like kind of weird. It's kind of like trippy. And then it'll disappear like almost as soon as it shows up. So,
Hmm.
so the mystery of that is yet to be resolved. But we'll return to that, table that for now. But that is something is very funny that it's like that's kind of an important like little detail that you decided to continue to add in here.
Right.
So, um, regardless of that, I love how different this one is. I mean, the book itself is already very different. It's the only book that's we're not going to Hogwarts. It's not the traditional like going back another year at Hogwarts type of thing. It's a
Quidditch.
road trip. It's a camping trip. That's what people often like are like, oh, it's Harry Potter and the really long camping trip. And it's like, yes, but like that sort of bleak hopelessness is why I like the book so much. That sounds really depressing, but like that having us really like get into the mind of like they have no idea what's going on and pages and pages of that happening are they knew more in the books, by the way. They kind of had more of an idea what was going on in the books. I almost like the fact that the movies have given us so little information because like the whole undercurrent of like we have no idea what we're doing is
Right.
just so strong and it's so bleak and it's so I love it. They do the
Yeah.
tone the tone is just like perfectly set for how are our heroes going to continue. Like
Like,
what
what the
can they
fuck do
do?
you do? Like,
Yeah.
what's even happening?
Yeah.
Ron's like, what the fuck is this shit? I thought you knew what was. I thought you knew something. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of it being underscored by that the lady at the party is like, "Why, boy, did you ever know him at
Yeah.
all?"
Yeah.
Where it's like all that
Yeah.
being underscored like this through thread of like Dumbledore was supposed to have guided us this whole time. He gave us this stuff, but now what? We don't know what we're doing. We don't really know where to go, how to destroy this thing.
Hmm.
We don't know. And they sort of figure out clues that like, okay, well, they find out later like Godric Gryffindor's sword had the basilisk venom in it
Yeah.
because it took it in because it's goblin made, but we don't have it. So it's like, okay,
Well,
well, Dumbledore obviously was
the,
planning on letting us do that, but now we can't use it.
Dumbledore's just not a straight shooter kind of guy. He wants to leave you
Yeah.
little crumbs and you figure it out. You
Yeah.
have to make some lessons out of this.
Yeah.
Like Ron so pointedly was like, "Oh, I think Dumbledore intended for this to happen, because I would find my way and use his like deluminator." And
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's exactly that's how
That's
Dumbledore
yeah.
operates.
Dumbledore basically knew is like Ron's a weak link here. Ron is
Ron weak link.
Ron weak link.
Yeah. Uh,
um
by the way, okay, so Ron, you mentioned it. Did so good. He was doing so good. He was such a supportive friend, and now
and then
he's petty and jealous now. It's a deadly combination.
yeah,
Uh, he
throwing
turns
the
it
your
around
parents are dead.
again, but yeah, he says your parents are dead. You don't have a family. Classic.
Yeah.
But
That's that
I feel like it's a little bit of a 180 from him like I criticize Ron as an individual, as a person in the
Hmm.
past for his not really showing any care towards Hermione when she's clearly into him. She's not really showing anything back.
Hmm.
And then in this movie, suddenly he's like his greatest fear is that like Harry is stealing Hermione from him, and like he's seeing this freaking weird like they're almost like digital
Yeah.
versions of them.
Yeah, they
Can
the
never
book even
compare.
describes them kind of like that too. That's kind of the weird thing. It's like they're like weird, waxy looking,
Mm.
like overly perfect versions of how they look. Like it's
Yeah.
very weird. Yeah,
Now his nightmare is that
I
they're
love that.
making out in front of him. It's like,
I love that scene. They're making out. They all of a sudden strip naked too. It was kind of wild.
what is going on
Um,
here?
there's so many scenes that they nail perfectly from the book, and then there's stuff that's not in the book that are my favorite scenes in the movie. Um, the scene of the when they're on Shaftesbury Avenue and they go to the cafe, the
Hmm.
little
Yeah.
diner. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. I love that scene. Um,
By the way, the cliche of the employee with the headphones on and chaos is happening in the background.
yeah, yep.
I feel like
It's great.
it's yeah.
So it is a little cliche, but I felt like it's made less funny because like it's kind of shocking that it's like it's very in your face and violent. Like a lot of this movie is that actually.
I
Like it's
do.
a little like the chasing in the woods. Like there's a lot of really like
Mhm.
they they're implementing shaky cam, which I feel like some people at this point it was already almost maybe becoming a little cliche for action movies to have that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is.
I felt like this they did such a good and I felt like they did a really good job of when it was implemented, like the coffee shop or like the scene in the woods where the snatchers are chasing them. Both really great little set pieces. And yeah, I thought all that stuff was done pretty well.
But yeah,
One of my other oh, sorry, go ahead.
I do really like in the coffee shop where they come back after that, and Hermione's like, "Go, leave." 'Cause
Yeah.
it just looks like they fucked some shit up, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah. It's
like,
just
"Get the
like
hell out of here! You didn't see anything."
yeah, it's almost like did you just kill those people? Like it was almost kind of look like that because like there's like broken glass and there are two people lying on the ground. So
Yeah,
but
I like that.
yeah, I like that. I mean, I love all of the new characters that they introduce us to, which are Yaxley is actually new to Deathly Hallows, but Mundungus Fletcher was originally introduced
These fucking names.
in Mundungus Fletcher was originally introduced in Order of the Phoenix. And they kind of dropped the ball a little bit with that. I feel like he might have been interesting to have sort of come in that movie maybe a little bit because he gets like three scenes in this movie and he's kind of a great character, but
Yeah, there's a couple of people that's like, "Who's that guy?" They're just a part of the crew now.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
part of the crew. And Yaxley as well, who's sort of the thug, almost mafioso guy who shows up. He's great. I love everything about his performance is just perfect. I love it. He's so menacing and brutal and harsh and I love him. I don't remember that actor's name, but I loved his portrayal from the beginning, and I love it now. Another Rufus Scrimgeour, the Minister for Magic, who shows up for two scenes.
an icon.
But honestly, like he leaves. I even commented it while we were watching the movie, where it was like, man, he's not in this movie for very long, but like he still somehow leaves. It's just Bill Nye is just an amazing actor. Like, he still leaves
What he
quite the
did for the
impression.
scientific community as well.
Bill Nye, not Nye. I love me some Bill Nye. Yeah,
Imagine Bill Nye was in this movie.
Bill Nye. Bill Nye, the science guy. He's just like
Come
a
on.
cameo in the background.
Hmm.
Bill.
Yeah, but these names are getting out of control. Belinda
These names.
Bagshot, Rita Skeeter.
Bathilda Bagshot. It's Bathilda
Oh
Bagshot.
right,
Bathilda Bagshot was actually already mentioned before,
I know.
a long time in the first book, actually, because it was listed for she wrote a history of magic. So,
But
um,
really,
mhm.
Skeeter, Bagshot. It's just
Bathilda Bagshot,
it's getting
Aber, Aberforth, Elpheus Doge.
come on,
Elpheus Doge is one of my
Doge.
favorite names.
Uh,
I love
proprietor
that man
Doge
too.
coin.
Elfish Dogecoin. Really, they should have had his face on Dogecoin. Let's be honest. Mr. Potter.
So we've been bouncing around a lot, but I want
Yeah.
to say my favorite part of this movie is the
Okay.
tale of the three brothers.
Oh, it's a
It's
huge
badass.
highlight. I love that. I love the animation is really cool. Um, the yeah, everything about that I love that too.
And I feel like
I
maybe
agree.
this was the one I saw in theaters because something about that was distinctly familiar about like how it was a whole sequence, outside of the regular format. And yeah, I mean, I think the story is a great story, and I like how they presented it.
It's a really good. It's honestly like a really good like fable, like fairy tale sort of thing. Because like, is the lesson is very poignant.
Hmm.
So it's like, um, yeah. I mean, like that. Just it straight up feels like a bit like a bedtime story that you would tell a kid. So I mean,
You
because
minus
a
the
lot of
kill
those.
yourself, and there's
No,
like
no, no. Well, here's the thing. Old fairy tales are scary and have like a lot of like dark stuff in them. Um, you know,
I know who's not gonna
I get
babysit
that.
my kids.
Yeah. Well, okay, maybe I'll hold off on the killing yourself part, but
I liked how dark it got though. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. One of my favorite scenes also, um, is the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, song. Oh Children. I that scene is so good. I think it was a little like it was a little polarizing. I think when the movie first came out, if memory served, I was sort of like I was listening to some Harry Potter podcast. I feel like at the time when this was coming out, and I remember like their reactions to this movie were very very split. Like somebody hated it, somebody was kind of in the middle, and another person loved it. Which is like, oh, that makes for an interesting podcast discussion, I guess. But I remember them being really split and torn on that scene, and how they thought it was like, oh, it was really weird how they sort of like end. It almost ends like they should kiss, sort of.
So
Um,
you were talking about which one, the dancing?
the dance scene, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I
But
was
like
even hot and bothered just watching it.
you're what?
Huh? Nothing.
What? You were getting hot and bothered just watching it.
Yeah.
No, I've always really loved that scene.
I'll tell you what I love about it. I'll tell you what I hate about it in a sec.
Okay. Okay. The I mean, I just like the fact that it's like, yeah, Ron is just left. He's left them both in a state, an absolute state, you could say. Neither of them have the people that they truly want to be with there, but it's such like a sweet kind of moment where he just wants to cheer her up, and she obliges, and they're able to sort of like cut loose for a little bit, and just for once in this dark depressing moment in time, they're able to sort of find at least some sort of enjoyment in each other, even though neither of them are with the person that they want to be with. Harry with Ginny, and Hermione and Ron. And I think in like another circumstance, like that could have ended up being like a sort of romantic thing, but like they sort of have to come back down to earth, and then just deal with what they have left now.
Yes.
And it's, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's just really kind of a really nice little scene in the movie. So what do you not like about it?
This is a nice scene. I love for the Hermione shipper in me. I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah.
I hate it for the Hermione shipper in me because I just know it's a plot device to cuck us in the end. Yeah, and it's messed up. It's
messed
that
up.
they did that because it's like, oh, ooh, you could. It's right here. It's right here.
Yeah.
Nah, we're gonna take
Yeah.
that away from you. You know it,
Yeah.
and you know it. So it's almost like J.K. Rowling's subversion, like of doing not the main character, is almost becoming as it's unfolding like this. That is the cliche outcome in my eyes because I'm like,
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna take it away from like Ron. You can see Ron being jealous, so it's gonna be Ron in
Mhm.
the end. Would have
Yeah.
been better if Ron was just jealous and he just had to freaking lay in his jealousy and then deal with it. Not
Wow.
happening,
Okay.
but you know.
But I would say the other scene that I like that sort of I would say is like I wouldn't say it matches that, but I love the scene where Ron comes back and he's explaining the what happened with the Deluminator. I love the score there, like the musical score, so beautiful. I've always this score of this movie. Let's just stand back for a second. Alexander Desplat, amazing composer. I think he knocked this score out of the park. This is like a 10 out of 10 movie score for me. Musical themes are all very memorable. He interweaves old themes um, again, and I love it. I love it so much. I remember this is actually I pre-ordered. This is the very first time, maybe one of the only times I've ever done this. I pre-ordered like a big collector's edition of the soundtrack when this was first coming out.
Wow.
Because I think all I heard was like one theme, and I'm like, oh, this we're gonna have a cool score here. This is gonna be great. And sure enough, it is one of my very favorite film scores. I really like the music in this a lot. Um, and yeah, I love that sort of Hermione gets her own sort of leitmotif.
Hmm.
The sort of main heroic through line has sort of its own theme. I think it's called Obliviate, which is like the first scene with Hermione is sort of like but like that theme has a sort of its own sort of through line and its own sort of like journey throughout the movie, which I really like.
Which is crazy, by the way. That scene with Hermione, they threw that right in there. I'm like, whoa, that's a big deal. That's a
Yeah,
big
that's
bomb they
really
just dropped.
sad. That's
Hmm.
really sad. I think they do a really good job of making you really sad right at the beginning. They I do there's deleted scenes of Harry interacting more with Petunia and Dudley. That's kind of
Hmm.
like the big one of the issues that I have with this is that we don't get the resolution with the Dursleys that we get in the book.
Okay.
Dudley learns to like respects Harry. He like thanks Harry for like looking out for him because he saved Dudley with the with the whole Dementor thing.
Hmm.
And we didn't get a scene with Dumbledore and the Dursleys in the last film because originally what happens is that Dumbledore actually visits. I think Dumbledore like visits Harry, like picks up Harry at his house, if memory serves. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, so there's that like that we sort of missed out on that.
Right, because the way they
Um,
show it in this movie, it was like
they're
this
just
this
getting out of
this
there,
seems
yeah,
very unlike them to just leave him there. They freaking
yeah,
held him prisoner all this time. Now it's just like, okay,
yeah.
I'm
But there's
fine with
there's
this.
there was a scene where like Petunia sort of like talks to Harry and sort of like there's like a sort of understanding there that you can like still tell that like she was very I don't remember what the deleted scene was, but in the book the resolution is more like there is like a weird sense of like a lot of the jealousy that Petunia had for Lily was sort of all sort of taken out on Harry in a way, and of course her not very kind husband and her spoiled as rotten brat son definitely didn't help anything.
Absolutely.
um,
But yeah, I mean,
but
I didn't know that resolution would have been better to see. But
yeah,
not knowing that, I was like, okay, I'm fine. I don't need to
yeah,
see more of them abusing Harry.
we
Yeah.
well we haven't yeah well that's the thing is that they really aren't like Vernon is the one that's like the most like but like even in the end it's like he has to leave like you got to get out of here.
Hmm.
So it's like yeah Yeah, it's well. The thing is that the Dursleys haven't really been like they skipped them in 2 movies, so it's
Yeah,
like, um, yeah, their
they're
presence is
yesterday's
like,
news.
yeah, their presence isn't as quite as necessary, I guess.
Also,
Um,
Hagrid is like the tiniest bit in this movie. He just got a real quick bit of him, and then
yeah,
he's out.
yeah, but he's a little cutie in this.
Yeah,
I put you when you were just as big as a bow truckle,
being
and I figured it was.
so
And
dramatic.
Mad Eye,
Yeah.
yeah, Mad Eye is like, that's enough of that. Pleasantries.
hmm Mad Eye.
It
Yeah.
tastes like goblin piss. You have a lot of personal experience of that,
Good to
Just trying to
see.
lighten the mood.
Good to see Mad Eye in this.
It was good to see Mad Eye in this for a brief period. Also, um, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
that's the
yeah.
thing. We got the stakes raised here. People are freaking dying and getting ears cut open, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah. I mean, I do like how they, like we said with the Obliviate scene in the beginning. I mean, they set the tone immediately. You're like,
yeah.
just in for a depression session,
Yeah,
if you will.
it is. And I like my depressing movies.
Yeah.
I like movies that make me feel things. Um, yeah,
I liked how the Horcrux just made everybody more agitated towards each other, just at any given moment.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like,
It's
like, oh,
presence.
someone's flipping out. Oh, give me that thing again. It's just every time someone's
Yeah,
getting angry, it's like, oh, of course you are. Give me this. How does that
yeah,
feel? Yeah, okay.
yeah. All right, all right.
They had the whole polyjuice potion with a bunch of Harrys in the
The
beginning.
seven, the seven Harrys.
Truly
It's a great.
disturbing look when they're freaking transforming.
I love it. I love how
Awful.
strange and creepy it looks. It's so disturbing. Bill, don't look.
Don't
I'm
look at
hideous.
ideas. Yes. Yeah, I like that.
One one thing that I was remembering too, the book describes about how they're like, all right, you guys all got to change here, and there's a comment I remember of Harry being like, kind of like feeling a little like disturbed and somewhat violated by like how just everyone's just like, oh yeah, here we go, and they just start stripping like
Yeah.
like naked. It's like, whoa, that's my body. It's like it's kind of a weird like thing where it's just like,
Weird,
yeah,
man.
yeah, well, there's no real privacy here, huh? So, yeah.
Luna Lovegood's dad's a weirdo. What's his
Oh,
name?
Xenophilius Lovegood. Yeah.
Xenophilius. That's right.
Xenophilius,
Of
yeah.
course, that's his name.
Lover of all. Lover of all, yes. So, um,
It's like
and he's,
I'll take Luna. I'll take like Luna's got some weirdness to her, but it's a lot more endearing,
yeah.
in my opinion.
But you can sort of tell where she gets it from, at least a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Harry doesn't want to talk to us right now. He's just too polite to say to say so.
Yeah. That's good. She picks up on social cues. You know?
Yeah,
So she's
yeah.
not too much of an oddball.
Yeah, yeah. We researched. I liked Elphius Doge.
What did she say? Curious place to store that. What did she say?
Oh yeah,
Harry
I think I know what you're.
had like a weapon.
Oh, that's a curious place to hold. Yeah, he had the piece of the glass. You know, that's a curious place to hold something important. I think, or something like
I
that.
forget, but
Yeah, I don't
it's a
remember
curious
it.
place to put that. Something like that. It's just her
Yeah, where
delivery
he's
is always nice.
hiding it in his sock. Yeah, that's a curious place to. Yeah.
The return and the redemption of Dobby.
Dobby, the house elf. There he is.
I mean,
It's
he's
Dobby.
so much better in this movie, in my opinion. He's so much better.
He's definitely improved in this movie. They made him a lot cuter. I will say that. I don't know if you noticed that or not. They made him very cute,
Yeah.
and I'm maybe a little like
It's,
not so thrilled about that. So one thing that does legitimately bug me.
okay.
Dobby in the book, he's a free elf, right? He's not beholden to anyone. He doesn't need to be wearing the sackcloth anymore. And it kind of bothered me that he's wearing a sackcloth
Yeah.
and not wearing a bunch of mismatched clothes, which is what he was wearing in the book.
That would've
He's
been
just
great.
wearing tons of clothes.
That would have been great. We're
Um,
gonna forget what Dobby looks like. And like, what elf is that?
yeah,
It's
it's
not in
like
the same outfit. I
immediately
remember.
as soon as he freaking starts talking, we know exactly who it is. Um,
But it's almost like
yeah,
if Jar Jar Binks came back and laid his life on the line in that heroic moment, you know. I mean, it's his redemption.
it is a little bit. Yeah. Um,
I just like how he was literally just like their get out of jail free card, literally. He's like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'm just gonna take you out of here." They just fell into that lucky little bit there.
Mm.
And I'm gonna take out Horntail for you real quick, and just come up the stairs. A Wormtail, and
Oh yeah,
then.
Wormtail. Yeah. Oh.
By the way, it's like a classic like bad guy thing. Like let's put the doofus in charge of like guarding them, and just him and no one else. Because what could go wrong here?
I yeah yeah.
Classic bad guy move. It's like, how did you let them get away? Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I I I loved everything with all the Malfoys in this movie. Also,
You're such a
like
Malfoy
how
stan.
I'm a Malfoy stan.
Draco's
I
still a
can't.
bitch on the
I
low
love it.
key.
Okay, yes, Draco is a little bit of a bitch
And
still,
I
but
loved how Harry ripped his wand out of his hand like the little bitch boy
yeah.
he is. He's just like, give me that. You're not gonna win, but even in just brute strength, I'll just
Yeah.
rip this out of your hand. I don't even need magic.
Yeah, I just the relationship between Voldemort and Lucius Malfoy in this is just so great. Like freaking Voldemort like makes fun of him.
Yeah.
Like he's like, my lord," when he's asking for his wand. He makes fun of him.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, we see Voldemort as on a quest. We are seeing Harry's visions. The connection between him and Voldemort
Right.
is strong, and Voldemort's so emotionally compromised he's not blocking him out anymore. So that was one thing that wasn't explained in the last movie, is that Voldemort's actually been blocking Harry out now, specifically because he doesn't want him to see what's going on, because obviously there can be a double-edged sword with that.
Okay.
But now he's like so emotionally compromised, he's sort of letting bits and pieces of it through, which
Mm.
is why Harry's like he's like really angry, and he's desperate for something.
Mm.
Um,
It's like some
and
Kylo and Ray shit going on.
yeah, a little bit. And so we see him going on a quest to look for one of the Deathly Hallows, as it turns out. So he's on a quest to find the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand in existence.
Part one of the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, part one. Yeah, the part one.
I like the setup in the beginning where it's like you immediately kind of you were laying the groundwork here. It's like the war is brewing. Here's our bad guys meeting, and here's our good guys rallying
Mm,
together meeting. You know, it's like,
mm,
um, and it's like they're like the rebels. They're the good guys are like the rebel alliance over here, huddled around in this room, and uh,
mm.
and then the bad guys have it all together. This big old table.
Yeah, they've
So.
taken over the Malfoys estate.
Mhm.
That's their meeting house now. Like the freaking Malfoys, they've got a dungeon down in their home. I guess so.
Of course they do.
Yeah, makes sense. I remember when the movie was before the movie came out. I was trying to figure out like where would they split, like what makes sense for them to split in terms of halfway point. And I think the halfway point was
Hmm.
like in terms of page length. I think it was Malfoy Manor, if not a little before that. I think it might have even been in the middle of one of the before they uh, destroy the Horcrux, the necklace.
Okay. Which would make sense
So
also.
with that, with that, it was like, okay, well, thematically, would make sense would be either ending when they get captured and go to Malfoy Manor, or just after at Shell Cottage, or whatever it's called. It's something like that. Which is where they ended up ending. I feel like in terms of a sort of arc and an emotional conclusion to the film, it makes the most sense. Um,
Right.
Especially with we have Voldemort getting what he's been looking for this whole time. So Voldemort's arc is like sort of he's at the peak of his arc, while
Yeah.
our heroes have kind of come. They've kind of had an up and down, but we've sort of come down to another low point here, while Voldemort is on the rise. So um, it makes
Right.
sense. It makes sense in terms of a sort of dramatic tension. So
For the theme of the movie to be the depressing movie, it's
mm,
like they're just going all in on that, which I appreciate because it'll set up for the payoff at the end to be much
yeah,
better than it's like if our heroes were on a high at the end. It's like, okay, well, I wonder what's gonna happen at the end.
yeah,
Look,
yeah,
it's looking up,
yeah.
But you give Voldemort on a high note. It's good.
The ministry scene, by the way, we didn't really talk about that, but I
Mm,
like the early goings before the camping episode. I really like just how each one of Harry, Ron, and Hermione all are bringing, because Ron is not in a weakened state, and he's not being influenced by the necklace, and he's not all upset and whiny
yeah.
at this point. But like Ron's sort of like come into his own a little bit with his confidence, and um, uh,
Talking about his
Hermione
wife.
is, yeah. Oh no, my wife's all alone. Ron, you don't have a wife. So I want to give it up to those three actors for doing that.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it does sort of bother me a little bit still, the fact that they really doubled down on the polyjuice potion. The way it works in the movies, I guess, is that your
Everywhere
voice isn't
changing.
masked,
Yeah.
or either that's done for the audience's sake, or I'm not sure.
I think it's definitely done for the audience's sake, right?
Yeah,
You
I
wouldn't they wouldn't hear it in that universe. This is for us.
yeah, yeah. I would have preferred it just be we get to hear those actors, because the guy that the Harry plays is amazing. Like he is so good. Like the scene where Harry's like going through Umbridge's stuff, and like the like he plays like every emotion perfectly. There's like anger, there's like he's like about to cry by seeing Dumbledore again, and like seeing that he's been marked. It's like rage and
Mhm.
like he's very good at that. Like he did a really good job of having to play a character who is not the character. It's great. There's the layers there, and I think that they do a really good job. So
Yeah, for
um
sure. That's such an
uh,
interesting position for an actor to be in.
yeah, where it's like, so you're actually this kind of awful person, but like that's who you look like. You're actually playing Harry Potter impersonating this person, so you have to be a little awkward and stiff and strange because he's not used to being this person. um
And
yeah,
Ron got another quick snog in
yeah,
on this
he's
movie.
getting the smooch.
I just like how we kind
Mary,
of
take the kids.
yes, yeah. The state we leave that relationship in is a little bit. It makes me uncomfortable a little bit.
That's how the book. I remember, sort of. That's how the book is too. Where like Reg Cattermole actually shows up. Barry, who is that?
Like, how do you explain your way out of that? Like, did you just ruin that marriage? Like, what's going
I
on?
don't think so. I don't know.
It's
I don't know. I feel like
someone's
you'd
owed an
recognize his
explanation here.
clothes. I feel like you'd recognize his clothes on Ron though. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we see Umbridge come back, and she's just as miserable and awful as ever.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she gets freaking knocked out. It's great. He just knocks her out. He throws the "I must not tell lies" back at her. It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
Had to hit her with it. I had to do it
Yeah.
to her.
Or "One must not tell lies." Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that chase scene where Yaxley is following them, I love that too a lot. Where it's just he's just so menacing, and like, it's so good. The music is like perfect on point doing that too.
hmm. And so I mean, we didn't go too much into the little, interpersonal conflict with Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and then the
Mm.
fact he leaves, and he comes back right in the clutch,
Yeah.
most clutch moment possible.
He is coming a pretty clutch. It is a pretty clutch moment. Um,
And he gets the sword and saves Harry, and then
it's the one that, yeah. And I love that. It's like where he even says, "No, like this thing affected me the most." He's like, "Well, all the more reason for you to do it. You have a personal grudge against this thing.
we just
It
get,
like,
and that's when we get the whole just just show of
Yeah.
Harry and Hermione.
I have
Like we
seen
were
your
saying.
heart, Ronald Weasley, and it is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's almost like it went on a little too long. It's like, oh my god, like we were saying, they're stripping down, making out. It's like, oh my god, how many more minutes is this? Is he just gonna
It's
watch
like
this unfold? It's like
it's like a minute.
it feels like a lifetime of him just this torture of Harry and Hermione, his worst nightmare, as we've always known. Every movie, he's been just terrified that Harry would steal his girl. You know.
Well, Harry already has his girl, and it's his younger sister. Oh, let's talk about one of my favorite comedic scenes in the movie. Is that whole
Oh
thing
yeah,
where
so weird.
George sneaks in, he's brushing his teeth, and then he sticks his toothbrush in his ear, which is because he's missing an ear, so he sticks it in the hole. Good morning. He winks at them and then has the knowing, like, the brother, like, you better behave yourself, young man, sort of look at Harry. And it's great. I love it.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about Ron in this movie and his little arc he goes through?
I I like it. I like the it. It's a movie. It's tough to like really make the beats always feel um. It's tough to make the beats always feel like they've been given enough time, I guess. But to me, they do a really good job of having the passage of time be obvious. So Ron's been gone for like weeks. Like he left in the fall. It's like kind of autumn when he leaves, and by the time he comes back, it's Christmas Day. So it's like,
Hmm.
um,
Mhm.
I like that we get a lot of time with just Harry and Hermione, and it's like it's almost like we get this feeling like for a bit like maybe this is the way it's gonna have to be because like Ron's just gone for a good 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. Um, and um, yeah, I mean, I think his return, his sort of redemption. I mean, like I said, I think that scene, the scene where he's talking, where he tells Hermione, who is, by the way, Hermione has every right to be pissed off at him because she's totally right. She should be upset at him, and I love all the little snide stuff she does about like it's just like it's like when are you gonna stop being mad at him? I'm always mad at him. Like there's like that and just like the all right, who I vote we go to see if this love good. Like who else? And then she just has like the just walks off. Um I don't know. I think because of that scene where he describes what the Deluminator did is like
Mhm.
that to me is like everything. If you didn't have that scene and if you didn't have that because I think he nails the delivery too. If you didn't have him hitting those emotional beats, I probably wouldn't have worked as well for me. But I think that sort of is sort of the saving grace of the character arc. I think
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I liked it for
Yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
just think it's funny how we get, it's like up and
Is it
down with
Ron
Ron.
being a
He's either the
yeah.
biggest like brother you could ever have, or he's
Mm.
just petty and now jealous. It's you never know with this guy.
Yeah,
He
it's
either
going.
snogging Lavender Brown, and now he's all about Hermione and what she's up to. you you left these guys alone for weeks. That's hilarious. I mean, how Ron just fumbles the bag in like so many different subtle ways in the past, and then this is just a big fumble. It's like I'm gonna leave you
Yeah,
two alone for so long. I am out of here, and I'm gonna come back and
yeah.
be jealous because I left you two alone. And what happens when you leave two young people alone? And they, you know, it's
You know
dangerous.
they got needs just like everyone else. So
Uh, Ron, you don't understand. It's purely primal.
it's just primal, Ron. It's just primal.
Just
Um,
yeah. No romance, just all physical, Ron. That's it. Oh, thanks. I can just imagine. Uh,
getting cucked by Harry Potter. How about that? This is
I love it. I mean, it's so true what she said. How could you compare it to the chosen one? I mean, you just can't.
you really can't,
As Hermione said in this movie, you'll never
as
compare it to the
Hermione,
chosen one.
waxy, creepy looking Hermione. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Any other scenes in this movie we didn't touch on?
the Forest of Dean scene. I mean, it is the Forest of Dean is where the Gryffindor sword is, but I think another really good scene is just the like Hermione sort of talking to Harry about like what are we doing? Like this is like there's no hope. Like we could almost just stay out here and
Right.
live the rest of our lives. Like we could just we don't know what we're doing, so why risk anything almost? So it's like Hermione getting kind of existential, which is
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like scary and creepy as well. Like it's maybe like creepy, but it's somber and it's like appropriately somber for everything that's going on. It's like that's a somber Christmas Day thought to have to think
Mm-hmm.
about the fact that's kind of what their lot in life is. Like maybe we shouldn't be being so risky anymore because like we almost just died and Harry's wand got destroyed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's.
yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for movies that have this kind of, you know, the sense of dread and hopelessness.
mm,
Like it's almost like how they ended Infinity War. You know, I loved how
yeah,
they ended that. Queuing up for Endgame is very similar to how
yeah.
they did this.
Well,
I
that
think it's fun because you know every other
yeah,
movie and for the most part all the other Harry Potter movies, you know, you're gonna end on, yay, we did this thing, and let's all
hmm,
regroup and have a party or whatever. You know, let's dance.
yeah,
So it's a nice change of pace.
yeah. It's good. I love this
Yeah.
movie. So
All
yeah,
right. So what score do we give it out of 10?
this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
9 out of 10.
Um, yeah, I love it. Um, I I think it does suffer a little bit, like I said, sort of in the like confusion. There's a lot of like new characters, a lot of new characters
Yeah.
all of a sudden showing up. So, but I think overall its tone, it's the general direction, and the acting is just it's phenomenal. It's as kind of as we've kind of grown used to as these movies have continued. Um, so yeah,
Mm. Yeah, I would take I would take points away for that same reason. You just kind of, especially just throwing me in there, you know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
throw me
They
in the
do.
deep end with no life preserver, and I deduct several points for that
Yeah, I
in my
just
calculations, and so it's gonna be an 8.5 for me. All right, so
it's
Tarqaron
fair.
score 8.75.
Mm,
Not too shabby. I mean, that's
no,
probably the second best Harry Potter so far, and
yeah.
I don't have a problem saying that. You know, I've scored a bunch of 8.5s in here, but you know, there's some more nuance in there than just the number.
Yeah, yeah. I I did want to mention I actually just did remember another sort of scene, but it's when they are first traveling on foot, like where Ron's listening to to like the names. It's sort of like this long. It's like you get the passage of time where they're traveling and they're hiding from Death Eaters,
Right.
and but you've got like this really eerie musical score. You have the ringing, the sort of like high pitched ringing of the necklace, and you have the droning of the list of names of people who died um, on the radio. And it's just like it's like it's that is like the perfect scene for like continuing to set like this beginning of the second act is some of the bleakest that the movie gets.
Mm-hmm. True.
And I I love that scene. It's great.
And I don't want to
So
understate that I did love that dancing scene. It was almost like
yeah,
a it's like a straight out of Captain America dance scene. You know, it was like old school,
yeah.
like old school lovers almost, but not that.
Yeah, but to a more modern song. You know, you get
And
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That's kind of a I don't want to say it's a deep cut because I think they're relatively known, but like
I don't know.
they're not really one of your like you know I will say they're kind of a deep cut a little bit.
Yeah.
So pretty cool that they threw that in the movie. So
Hmm. And I mean, it does hurt my heart that the direction we're going here, but
yeah,
it's a little hint of what could have been.
yeah, I guess so.
It was giving
I
me
guess so.
life. It was giving all the stands life, and the shippers. It's time to jump off the ship, though. This is
I
about.
guess so. Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, next week is Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2, the last Harry Potter movie proper. All right.
It is. It is. It's crazy we're getting here already.
Yeah,
Wow.
a long journey, and it's still not quite over yet because we'll be taking
No.
probably, I think it's a week break after that one, and then we'll be into Fantastic Beasts,
Yeah.
and we'll try to find out where to find them.
Yeah, well, we got to figure out where to find them. Yeah.
Uh, and thank you for watching. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
If you enjoyed this video, why don't you go check out our review of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, that is very tonally very different than this movie, but sure.
Check out our review, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. All right.
Yeah, do it up.
And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and if you do, we'll be sure to read it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. All right, click the link in the description for our social media and hit the notification bell.
Woo!